And hello, everyone. I am Angelo Robles. Welcome to my LinkedIn and other platforms live and to, I guess, my Angelo Robles podcast. I don't talk about that enough because the world has become so visual, but I still maintain an Apple and I needs to be a little more updated. But those of you that are a little more old school with that, I'm still up, including on iHeart, on those traditional platforms. As many of you know, I am now under my brand of Angelo Robles Holdings in the great business state of Wyoming. I have my brands in the family office community, which is my professional passion and love, Billionaire Mastermind, SFO Continuity, and of course, Family Office TV. So it's really an exciting time for me. I know lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been extra active, especially on the lives, both wanting to give back to the community and get a little bit of brand awareness since I sold my positions in FOA, Family Office Association, kind of recharged the batteries, traveled and learned, and have so much to share over the last 4 to 5 months since that happened, getting a little bit of brand awareness and being more out there. Today was a double day. I had a great guest on kind of a human machine interface, Zoltan Istan, and now I'm going to do a little solo, probably relatively short, effectively on an aspect of best practices within a family office. But I do enjoy giving these and feel an obligation to do work and give back to the community. If nothing else, it's the right thing to do. But again, I also do run a business. So a lot of all my socials are, of course, free. And I give a lot away on LinkedIn, on obviously on YouTube at Family Office and at Family Office TV. Go and subscribe. Be a super chatter too. Would love you a little more. So don't forget about that. Those of you that want to be supportive, I greatly appreciate it. And even my Angelo Robles media on some of my other platforms like Instagram, like Twitch, and my Rumble, which probably by later August will really get rocking because there's no restrictions. I could have very unique guests on. And I think the pride that I take is my knowledge on geopolitics, the economy, wealth, billionaires, and of course, family offices, and asking interesting questions to great guests, and sometimes doing a good old fashioned solo as well. Although, admittingly, I do agree, those probably are a little bit more boring, but hopefully appreciated whatever I could get back to the community. But again, on August 15th, that's going to dwindle down a bit. I'll probably do a consistent live on Thursday night because I want to and I want to give back. And my platforms will still have interviews, I guess you could say, after the fact. But to really be active at the moment and interact and get a good part of the private interview and recording that I do with these amazing thinkers and ask them the toughest questions that you could be interactive at the moment and participate in, you're really going to have to go to angelorobles.com on that Tuesday, August 15th, when it is rolled out and the opportunity to be a part of. And we have some incredibly effective options at Family Office TV and even Billionaire, my broadly under Billionaire University to be a part of, and more substantial at Billionaire Mastermind and SFO Continuity, really for those that really are completely dedicated to the world of great wealth as a principal, as an executive in a family office who want to be interactive with the best, most creative, cutting edge content. And it's not just me. I directly and indirectly, after 20 years in the community, have a pretty interesting global dream team. And some of them you might have heard a little bit about the last couple of weeks in my program. Great people like Adam Robinson and Ian Burlingame and David Hunter are great thought leaders that I've gotten to know more personally and have some level of access to, and looking to do more proprietary work with just so many others, the best of the best in legal, geopolitical, and the work that we could all do together to be a benefit in the community. So today, probably a little bit of a dry topic in best practices. And in this topic, I was better at writing it than I'm necessarily at talking about it. So for parts of what I'm going to talk about, you are going to see my eyes look down and look at my notes. So my words could be very, very succinct. Outcome bias in the SFO, using data analytics and statistics to better quantify results. So the context behind that is practically every family office is more qualitative. That's understandable. Families are emotional and sensitive. Certain things are hard to be quantifiable within the family office. Probably investments and other aspects would be relatively the easiest. But even then, was it luck? And what is outcome bias in the end? And sometimes it is hard to necessarily quantify that. So a challenge is you don't know what you don't know, especially in benchmarking or comparison to other SFOs. You may be okay, but is that like the 12th man on the bench of an NBA team? You're in the NBA, kudos, that's rare, that's awesome. But are you, I hope, as a family and as an executive, don't you want to be kind of like the LeBron James? You want to benchmark and compare relative to your goals, the goals of that family office, which the executives will now know what I'm talking about. My God, you family members move the goalpost and change that all the time anyway. But welcome to the world of the single family offices. And my friends in the family office community that work at an SFO, imagine all those that want to work at an SFO and don't really understand the nuances and sometimes how thankless and how hard it really is. But we're trying to raise the bar for everyone. So I think that's really going to be a big, important point. And I know I harp on that a lot. Dare to be great. Push the boundaries. What's going on now in the family office world is often kind of dated. It's not so great. The industry, man, needs a major, major revamp, which was one of my reasons, inevitably, for selling FOA and having that time to travel, reflect, and learn and move forward. With new knowledge and new connectivity in all sorts of creative and other fields that changed my mind and my perspective, and the opportunity to share that, and with, again, what I would define as kind of my dream team and thought leaders. So for me, I know maybe not for everyone, but man, I just live and breathe the SFO world. I woke up before I went to New York Giants training camp a couple of nights ago, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and couldn't get back to sleep, or I only slept in an hour from 5 to 6, where I had to get up to go to New Jersey to go to MetLife Stadium for the great New York Giants. You think Super Bowl champs this year? Is that possible, everyone? Probably a long shot. But the gist of it is, my mind was racing, taking notes about all these ideas that I had that are maybe a little off the beaten path in the family office world. But again, the importance is people is number one. They're number one. It's not even close. I will be talking about systems in a future version of this because I have some important comments on that. And absolutely technology, especially after that recent interview with Zoltan and all that I'm learning and interactive in that community, besides this data and aggregation and even some of the things we're talking about today, which are going to be technology driven, but the impact of AI and quantum and other things that are upcoming in the community. This is not a time to rest on your laurels. If you're an SFO executive who's doing that or want to be in this community, it's not going to work. People like me are bringing too much awareness to the principals and the families in terms of we all have to get better. We have to rise that tide and make it more of an opportunity for those that want to work in the community with a career track and an opportunity to be compensated properly and have it be good all the way around. But when it comes to people, it's the competency, identifying blind spots, and putting your ego aside. All things you've heard before, Ray Dalio being a great person who talks about it. You could get better. It's not just raw IQ horsepower. Also, you may know people that have incredibly great raw IQ horsepower that could help on problem solving and critical thinking. That's where ego could come in. Oh, I'm smart. I know it all. You probably are pretty smart and you may know a fair amount, but wouldn't you be better having a team, both in-source and outsource, that you could be a little bit more careful with, that you could go back and forth with, and the best idea wins, not the person with the best title who's getting paid the most. And I keep on harping into what I always say about we really only have time and energy, and money is just a way that we value. That's the right word, that we value those two things. So again, I'm going to begin. I may take a break here or there to catch up on a breather. I don't know. This will probably be ballpark about 10 minutes. Then I'll make it more interactive as best I could. Thank you, Omar. Keep the chats coming, by the way. Happy to get questions. I believe on LinkedIn and YouTube, it shows up in my StreamYard feed, which is what I use on my live. So we do want you to be interactive and comment and ask questions. And already someone has texted me, Angelo, do you wear the same suit all the time? The answer to that is no. I do love double-breasted. I have a gray, a blue, I have a stripe, I have a yellow one, and I have a other variation of a blue one. But I do tend to prefer darker colored suits. And sometimes on screen, without ultra high res cameras, the gray and the blue does tend to look a little similar, by the way. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes, I wear different ties. And yes, as someone else notes, boy, I really got my friends chirping away today. Is my beard a little too long? Well, that is debatable, but it is my beard at the end of the day. So outcome bias in the SFO, using data analytics and statistics to better quantify results. Again, for the best context of this, most of it is going to be red, so my eyes are going to look down. When I get a little more tech savvy, I guess it could be scrolling from my screen, but not there yet. So data analytics and statistics are commonly better quantifiable metrics in measuring and enhancing success in certain aspects of the single family office than traditional, outcome dependent management thinking that doesn't measure was the outcome luck, a rising tide, hard to duplicate, etc., or skill. Simply data analytics and statistics should help the SFO make better, more informed, and consistent, a keyword again, decisions. Data analytics observes trends and patterns in data. That would be a classic definition. Statistics validates those theories using scientific processes. As I have discussed many times, far too many SFOs lack rigor and lack institutional level standards in their operations and decision making. Too often, we are provided the old adage, it's how the family feels about our worthiness and value as an SFO. This is not to be discounted. Trustworthiness, communication, and other qualitative measures as to how the family feels is very important. God damn, sometimes I'm actually a pretty good writer. I wish I could talk that well all the time. Perhaps it's even 51% qualitative. I'm willing to give you that. But would you agree that we need more quantitative metrics, both on the family and the SFO side? And even if it's going to be 51-49, it is going to be and should be relatively close. This leaves a large gap when success is not quantifiably measured and what the family thinks is success, perhaps even the SFO does, is actually beta randomness and might even be below par, dare I say. This was a challenge among sports teams decades ago. Success is determined by outcomes, wins versus losses. And those outcomes are far easier to identify in sports than in an SFO. However, in a competitive environment where sometimes money mattered in buying talent, as well as drafting and grooming talent, the equation became more quantitative driven. Sports teams make better decisions, henceforth win more games. We've all seen, what was the name of the movie about the GM of the Oakland A's back, I guess, more so in the early to mid 90s. Billy Beane was the GM's name. I'm a pretty good baseball fan, but I'm forgetting the name of the movie. But it was a great Michael Lewis book. He's an incredible author. So now if you're a team in sports that doesn't do analytics, what the hell is wrong with you? And I think it's been, again, of course, analytically proven that the teams that marry the combination of both, because it's not all quantitative. There's the concept of not just having the right players in the right spot and making the right decisions in management, AKA a coach, which helps from a sports perspective, but what the players have to kind of gel and work both individually and together. And managing those egos like a great coach like Phil Jackson was so amazing at over the years. So of course, that is still important. The sports community began to realize that the brightest minds in sports didn't work at sports teams at the time. However, they were data analysts and statistics professionals. Sports teams adapted, and now every team employs and outsources to data analytical and statistical services in quantifying their Moneyball. There you go. That was the name of the movie. See, that's why the chat features, you're all So awesome. I appreciate you. However, in that every team does this, the edge now becomes less pronounced. You don't have to worry about that in an SFO because so few do it anyway. By the time it reaches mass adoption, I think that's going to take like forever. So if you're able to make these choices and bring some of these both inside the SFO and outsource. Now, I know what you may be saying, and I try to be empathetic to the SFO executive as best I could. I gave you guys a couple of good points a couple of minutes ago, or where I sided with you, I guess you could say, is that, suppose the spotlight becomes so strong, I'm held to a high standard, and maybe we are just average by quantifiable standards. Maybe the family is okay with that relative to the perception of their goals on things like investments or other metrics that may be easier to measure, but coupled with qualitative metrics and simply how do they feel about you absolutely is important and is going to matter. And any family that tries to make it too quantifiable on your behalf, Mr. or Mrs. SFO executive, I will argue with them to benefit you from that perspective. But just don't be 100% qualitative. Understand that. Should SFOs go out, rush and hire PhDs in physics and expertise in data analytics and statistics? Well, not necessarily. But an important factor in successful SFOs is hiring or outsourcing, like I said, different talent, perhaps polymath talent. You got to diversify your skill set as well, who are historically haven't really worked in an SFO, but making the SFO more rigorous and institutional, shines more light on measuring the outcomes achieved. Listen to that again, the outcomes achieved and the reasons for it. You become better as an SFO executive, not worse. If you want to be an SFO executive, I'm sorry, this is not a 9-to-5 job. What is a 9-to-5 job anymore? But especially this. Competency of the people in the SFO is paramount, as is identifying blind spots and moving ego aside, learning and adapting. Analogy, I guess. Excellent poker players and other professional gamblers innately and through learning and practice understand this very well. There is randomness involved in investing, particularly short term. Overall, success in many endeavors, including measuring success in the SFO. Sports can be a difficult analogy relative to SFOs because there really is not a great comparison to a single family office. And in sports, I'll also argue lower scoring sports like soccer comparative to, say, basketball do make analytical analysis and statistics more difficult. More randomness comes into play. Why? There are simply fewer goals scored in a soccer game. God, soccer sometimes can be very boring. But the World Cups, male and female, I do like. But as an American, it's not going to replace American football, basketball, baseball, or even hockey to me. But that's just me. You have your own choice. One of the statistics an excellent sports gambler trusts a lot is in soccer. Well, I guess it could apply to others too, is goal difference. It's the difference between the number of goals the team scores versus the number of goals an opponent scores. It's a reliable indicator for a team's strength. I'm teaching you all these insider Vegas and gambler secrets now in grading teams. Another statistic a gambler trusts is something called shot differential. The difference between the number of shots a team produces versus the number of shots the opponent produces. It's statistically very well documented in soccer, that the best teams over time produce more shots than the worst teams. Are there measures that such a professional insource or outsourced can create within an SFO to better quantify results and help make the SFO better at decisions consistently? The assumption, listen up, the assumption is that good results are always the consequences of good decisions and superior performance. Baloney. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. And that is, back to the title, the first part of it, outcome bias. Families and executives and advisors think about this more thoroughly. I get it. Qualitative measures are important. Like I said, I'm down with you. I agree. But we gotta become more data driven, more quantitative. And yes, this is going to shine some more of a spotlight, and that's okay. The cream will rise to the top, and either you'll get better or you won't, and the family may make a decision to replace you. That is a possibility. This is a very competitive environment. Welcome. SFOs, yes, are more complex in performing or measuring quantifiable measurements, but they're absolutely subject to outcome bias. Success turns luck into genius. When we are successful, we don't ask tough questions. Investors know that. Family offices hear that again. When we are successful, we don't ask tough questions. We tend to be blinded by outcome bias. We expect results to continue automatically. We don't dig into them and ask what was actually the underlying reason for the success. How many SFOs do you think confuse good leadership with good market conditions? A lot. The gist of basically what I'm saying is we have way more room to go for improvement. Things do have to become more quantifiable. Is it somewhat uncomfortable? Sure. But we're not going to roll back the clock. There's more and more technologies out there. There's more awareness to what I'm talking about. Look at the advancements in AI. What do you think this is going to, and right now the Chat GPT and BART and some of that, it's really more large language models, but we are on the cusp within 2 to 4 years of this getting way, way, way better. This is going to be a paradigm shift in society with family offices included and jobs. I am just trying to help you. We have to get better, including me and what I do. I didn't do such a good job in my latter year at Family Office Association, and I spoke about that in certain posts and things that I've done. I lacked humility. Some of the things I talk about moving ego aside and blind spots, I fell victim to that. After some level of success, it's natural for us to feel that way. We are human after all. But just realize that we need to do better, as it's going to get more and more competitive out there. Resist the human tendency to assume that good outcome means that someone acted brilliantly. Hear that one again. Resist the human tendency to assume that good outcomes mean that someone acted brilliantly. A good gambler treats success with the same skepticism as they treat failure. And this is why successful organizations should do that too. If you want to stay relevant, they should be asking themselves the questions of a great gambler. Are you ready? Why were we actually successful? How do we separate luck from skill? Investing is the most obvious in an SFO, and that quantifiable metrics using data analytics and statistics will help to quantify results and make better decisions. In other words, beta versus alpha, alpha in the way of meaning skill. Of course, it's more complex than gross investment returns. What are the risks we are taking to achieve those returns? And how could that be measured? And areas like liquidity, net of taxes, time horizon, etc. AI is changing everything. So I would like to give credit. The backbone of what pushed me to write 5 or 6 pages on this about a month or two ago and embed it in the work that I do with family offices and reach out to AI professionals and others, enhancing my knowledge and the depth of my Rolodex to help family offices, comes from a lot of the research and prior writing of Rasmus Ankersen, a Danish entrepreneur with a passion for cracking the secrets of high performance. So kudos to him. I reached out to him on Twitter to see if he would like to come on one of my super long, of course, like 2-hour interviews, and he didn't respond. He's probably a smart man. But I don't give up easy. I will stay at it, and I will keep on trying. So I thought this was important. Again, honestly, there's some things where I am pretty good as a dynamic presenter and just talking straight up. But there are some things where I'm better in writing. And although it's maybe not quite as dynamic to look down and read from it, I tried the best I could. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe my voice makes things come to life. But I felt that would provide more context. Again, outcome bias in the SFO. There's so many damn biases. The one you're probably most familiar with, and we all are subject to it, confirmation bias. So outcome bias is an other. And this goes back again to people, the right people in the right bus, competency, identifying blind spots, and putting ego aside. We all have to get better. This is a very, very challenging world. It's getting harder. It's going to be harder for our children, for our grandchildren. It's going to be harder for us. I spoke and have spoken about the importance of building up a certain amount of capital, which probably is tens of millions of dollars, to have somewhat of a level of freedoms in today's world, which is more challenging moving forward. I think I push boundaries. I get that. I make mistakes. I make them a lot, but I try. And this is completely a 24/7 passion of mine. This is not a part-time job. It's not a second gig that I do. This is my life. And at my age, that bridge has been burned to do anything else a long time ago. In other words, I'm an old man, and I'm okay with that. And that motivates me and pushes me to constantly, where maybe I didn't quite do that a year or two ago, but to constantly for the opportunity of learning from my past mistakes and getting better, and taking the opportunity over the last couple of months to reflect, to read, to learn, to talk, to Zoom, to travel internationally, to meet with billionaires, successful families, thought leaders, and of course, incredible SFO executives, and find out, adding to what I already might have known as to who are the LeBron Jameses, the Michael Jordans, the Mike Trouts, the, like name me a great soccer player. Pelé, but that's a little bit dated, I know. Cristiano. So there you go. Who are the best of the best? And study them. Ask them hundreds of questions sometimes. Questions they get uncomfortable with. Have you had an IQ test? When did you get married? When did you fall in love? Tell me about I ask crazy shit. Even more crazy than the ones I often ask during interviews. And I hope by some of you that's appreciated. Again, I am not vanilla. I am not down the middle. I don't look it. I don't act it. I don't talk that way. And I know I'm going to bifurcate some of the audience. Maybe some will love, some will hate, and maybe not too much in the middle. You just kind of drop out. But hopefully appreciated for the topic that I brought to the forefront today. And yes, this topic will make its way into one of my masterclass programs that I'm designing for families of wealth in the family office community. More of that is going to be discussed on angelorobles.com. Not now, it's garbage now. Wait until, again, Tuesday, August 15th. God, I hope that date holds up. But yes, Tuesday, August 15th. Besides my two other core master classes, this will be a third, probably by the end of the year. And the faculty and instructors in it are not just me. I'm a part of it, but it's others. And bringing you the best cutting edge content in the family office world. I spend sometimes tens of thousands of dollars a year downloading competitors' content, going to programs. I went to Milken. That was kind of expensive for me this year. I've done everything, and I look to learn. I want to be adaptive as to how things are changing. And honestly, a lot of what's out there, it's just not that good, especially in the family office world. You think a lot of these events and programs are good? They're not. When you have a lot of service providers who are paying and vendors running around, how the hell is it going to be good? And I was a part of that as well. I get it. Hopefully I did it a little better than average, but that's not going to be a model for me to be interested in moving forward. And if that rankled some people, that rankled some people. I want you either on my boat or get off it. There's really not too much of in between. So that opportunity for me to be more of a deeper thinker, or critical thinker, or more creative thinker, and have the depth of Rolodex that I have around the world, come and join what I'm a part of, and you instantly, jump into all that. What I've learned from interviewing Tony Robbins several times for multiple hours each is, you're all smarter than me. You could probably accomplish what I've done in lesser amount of time. So what? It doesn't take you 18 years. It takes you 8 or 9 years. It's a long time. Is it worth it to pay some money to accelerate your network, your knowledge, and your connectivity? And that's where it's going to be at moving forward. It's not just having $30 or $50 million, although damn it, that is important. Let's just be honest. It's having the depth of network that's global. And that's where I could help. And I could help effectively from the get-go. You just have to use me more if you're paying me and you're a part of what I'm doing. So again, especially August 15th, go to angelorobles.com. In the meantime, still a fair amount of free content. The lives are going to be slowing down, probably just Thursday nights in about 2 more weeks moving forward. But I'm still going to be on YouTube at Family Office, at Family Office TV. Go and follow me on LinkedIn, at Family Office on Twitter, and Angelo Robles Media on Instagram, which is more fun and social, not too business centric. Although sometimes I'll drop a little bit of my philosophy and poetry. You never know. And Rumble, where I could really let it rip on certain geopolitical interviews coming up a little later this month, an interesting guest or two. And even on Twitch, where the young ones hang out, and still trying to kind of figure some of that out. So enough about that. I hope you're all having a great summer. Okay, thank you so much, LinkedIn user. I don't see the name. It is time for me to say goodbye. It's a Friday. I am going to go read a little bit, go into an intense exercise program, which I don't want to do, but discipline. Discipline means I have to do it and I can't take days off, and then have an interactive time with my son and family this weekend. So appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Feel free to follow me, and look forward to sharing much more in the coming weeks to months to years to come. I am going nowhere. I love what I do. Thank you.